Hi beautiful people. Today I'm going to wrap up what is probably my last IVF video. If you saw my last video, I did a kind of IVF process where I took you through step by step like what everything looks like and timelines and things like that. But today I wanted to do a Q&A and just kind of answer all your guys' questions that I got from Instagram. So let's not waste any time. Let's hop right into it. I think this is a good one to start with. I got a few questions like this and it was, what is your infertility diagnosis? And I wish we had an answer because we don't. We are officially unexplained infertility. So if you've been following my story, you probably know this, but if not, a very long time ago when we first got married, I did get pregnant pretty much without even trying. And I did unfortunately end up having a miscarriage. So it was really confusing to us that we couldn't get pregnant again. And after all of the testing and even going through IVF, we still don't have an official diagnosis. It's just unexplained, which means they couldn't find anything wrong with me or Andy. Both of our tests, everything came back normal. I did have a few polyps that I've gotten removed, two separate occasions, like a couple years apart. And they originally thought that could be an issue, but then we gave it plenty of time and it wasn't an issue. This next question, really good and something like I haven't actually been asked before. Were your doctors supportive for seeking a fertility specialist or did they brush you off? My doctor is amazing. Super happy with my doctor. He's my OB now. He was able to do all the testing that they could do at their practice, but was very much supportive of seeing a specialist or doing whatever we wanted to do. If we wanted to take time and wait and see how things went, supportive of that, supportive of whatever we wanted to do. Now, our actual fertility doctor, Andy and I both were not a fan of. Just his bedside manner was just very kind of like brash and I don't know, we just didn't really connect with him. But at that practice, there are several infertility doctors and we only actually saw our specified doctor maybe 2 or 3 times during the whole year and a half we were there, which is kind of crazy. Okay, let's get into some of the transfer questions. This first one is, did we do PGT testing? That is genetic testing. It is expensive. It's like $4,000 to $5,000 at our specialist that we went to. And no, we didn't do it. Our doctor didn't necessarily recommend it to us. We're young in the field of IVF and we didn't have any known genetic factors. So we didn't do that, which means we also didn't find the gender of any of our embryos. We got 5 embryos. And so yeah, we did not find out any of that. We didn't do genetic testing. Fresh or frozen transfer, I spoke about this in my last video, but we did a frozen transfer, which takes longer and more prep for that. I wish we could have done a fresh transfer, but my clinic doesn't do it. Did we have to get a donor? No. You could get an egg donor or a sperm donor if you do IVF to get an embryo, but that's only if you have known problems with your eggs or your spouse's sperm. It's not something you would probably do right off the bat. I feel like even if you did potentially have problems with your eggs, you still might try a round of IVF to see if you can create an embryo from your own eggs. We never had to broach that subject at all, so I don't know if that's something that you would try first. Probably something I would try first. Okay, so after the embryo formation, how many attempts did it take for the successful implantation? So essentially, when you have an embryo, you transfer it. It's called a transfer, either a fresh or frozen transfer. And we were very fortunate that it worked the very first time. I think the statistic is for every 2 to 3 embryos you transfer, 1 will result in a live birth. So we got 5 embryos overall. So statistically, we should probably get 2 live births from that. Okay, probably the number one question I got is, do we know the gender? And as I mentioned, we did not find out the gender before the transfer because we didn't do the genetic testing, and that's like the only way you would find out. So we did the 10-week NIPT test, which isn't really a gender test. It tests for Down syndrome and a few other things, but you do find out the gender if you want to through that test, and it's like 99-point-something% accurate. So we did find out the gender very early on, and then recently we just had our like anatomy scan at around 19-20 weeks that confirmed the gender. So yes, we do know the gender. We're not announcing it quite yet. I will announce it before I give birth. I have an idea of how I want to announce it, but I just want like my belly to look bigger and I want to look pregnant. And I think we're intending to announce it to our friends and family like at the baby shower. I've kind of heard from some people like that's kind of a good idea to do. So probably waiting for our baby shower, and then a little social media post to go along with that. The next question is, how much did everything cost? And this was probably my biggest question going into this. It could vary so much. I feel like everything I've read, our clinic was very average price-wise. Okay, so we essentially had two options that we were between. We knew we were only gonna do one cycle of IVF. That's kind of what we told ourselves. We weren't gonna like spend $100,000 trying to do IVF and have it work. So we kind of set that limit from the get-go. Like, we did not want to spend more than X amount of dollars. We did not want to do more than one cycle. And one cycle is essentially what we did. Like, we got 5 embryos from our one cycle. So that would mean transferring all those embryos. So essentially 5 chances in our scenario. So we knew that that's what we wanted to do ahead of time. So we didn't even look at multiple cycle plans. It was not something we were interested in. It was, you would save a lot more, but it did cost a lot more. But if you ended up needing those cycles, you would save money. And here were the two options we were between. Option 1 was 1 egg retrieval, 1 transfer. It cost $12,000. And that was just the IVF cost. I'll get into the medicine cost after that. So that would be about $12,000, give or take. And that was it. 1 egg retrieval, 1 transfer, period. Our second option was 1 egg retrieval again, but with unlimited transfers. The other one only included 1 transfer, and anything after that was $3,000. So each transfer would have been $3,000. Say we used all 5 embryos, there's an additional $15,000. So that's what that included. Plus, you got about a 50% refund if none of that resulted in a live pregnancy. So it was a little bit of an insurance plan, and the cost of that was $16,000. So we kind of put them head to head, and essentially we went with the refund plan. The math pretty much worked out as if we needed like 2 transfers or more, that the second option would have saved us money. And then also just having the peace of mind that you would get a partial refund of like $8,000 or $9,000 if it didn't work out was also kind of like a relief for us, because at the time we chose, we did not do the egg retrieval. We did not know how many embryos we got. We could have had 0 embryos, and at least this way we would have gotten a partial refund, whereas the other option, it was nothing. So that one was just a little more peace of mind, a little more stress relief, that it would take us through like a full cycle. We wouldn't keep paying money out of pocket. It was just like a one-time thing and done. And then all in all, we spent about $21,000, because I did track it on an Excel spreadsheet, because that price did not include medicine. Medicine is completely separate. The most expensive part of the medicine was for the egg retrieval. So that was about $4,000 or so. I can't remember exactly. Okay, the next question is, did you gain weight? And this is something I was really expecting to, but I don't think I really did. I didn't track it too closely. If I did, I lost it soon after. Because you are holding more water and fluids and things like that. The next question is, how long did the whole process take? And this is actually what I covered point by point with the specific dates in my last video, if you want to get a general feel of the timeline. But it came out to be about 4 to 5 months. Was it painful? This is another thing. I was expecting it to be very painful. I've heard horror stories about egg retrieval, like you wake up after surgery and you're in so much pain, and I really wasn't. Not really. The hardest part I had was mentally with the hormones, just how they were affecting my body. But painful, like there was definitely nothing that I couldn't do again, and I've definitely been through more pain than I've been through during IVF. So that was good for me. And then the last question is, did we get to freeze any embryos? So I mentioned this, that we got 5. So yes, we currently have 4 that we're currently freezing. And I guess I'll also mention this, that you do have to pay to freeze and store your embryos. We got 6 months for free with our clinic. So we just kept everything with our clinic, cost about $70 a month. We just had our first payment. We just passed like that 6-month window. And it is about $800 and something a year for storage, which is Crazy. Okay, so at this point, I feel like I've covered pretty much all there is to know about IVF. If you've seen my last video, it's very informational about the process itself, whereas this is just kind of like answering your questions and our personal experience. But regardless, I hope you found this helpful. And if you're going through this process or thinking about it, I wish you the best of luck. Please feel free to reach out to me in the comments on Instagram. I've definitely have met so many people going through IVF as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.